Welcome to Celebrate a Sister podcast. I'm your host, Emma Walkinshaw. I'm a transformational coach. I'm also the founder of Embody Me program and the creator of 21 Minutes of Morning Magic. You may also find me on the yoga mat leading yoga sessions and also running retreats here in Australia and internationally. Here on the podcast, I bring you some pretty incredible guests. We talk all things self-belief, body acceptance, personal development, outdated beauty standards, and we also call BS on the toxic diet culture, accepting the beautiful bodies we were born into, letting go of all the beliefs, and raising our self-awareness. I also come to you from time to time with a little solo episode, a little Life According to Emma moment. I'm so glad you're here. Enjoy. Welcome to this week's episode of Celebrate a Sister. Today, I am so happy to be joined by my dear friend, also business bestie, and just an all-round good human being who has had a beautiful journey of business and life like us all. And today I'm going to celebrate you, my darling Victoria, and I'd love to get started by you telling everybody what your beautiful heart story is and how have you landed where you're at and how do you support women in the world?
Oh, thank you, gorgeous Emma. I really appreciate you inviting me onto the Celebrate a Sister podcast. I am absolutely in love with you, and I think that will come across within our podcast. So thank you so much for having me today. I started my business journey in 2013 where I started Rainbow Bridge Family Daycare. I was disillusioned by what I experienced working in daycare centres, long daycare, and wanted something better for children and educators alike. And I feel like the family daycare model really supports that in that smaller ratio where educators can actually give one-on-one attention and care and love to children in early childhood education. So I started that in 2013 and it was a mega rocky road. Every 2 years, the government pulled the wool out from underneath us or the rug out from underneath us, and we would almost have to start again. And so that was quite the introduction to business. Very much a resilience building exercise every 2 years, having everything change on you. And then during COVID, I started a second business because what else do you do at the most stressful time of your life but start another business? And Big Hearted Education was born. During COVID, I actually started advocating quite vocally for family daycare educators and then grew a bit of a following through that advocacy work that I did. And now I do online courses. I have a podcast. I sell resource books and planners to educators and online courses as well. We just ran our most successful summit, which has been really, really exciting. So I thoroughly enjoy empowering women to really understand their worth and to cut through all the noise of imposter syndrome and not having knowledge, because knowledge in business, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, knowledge in business is power. And when you have power as a woman, you can be unstoppable. So that's how I got here.
What a courageous journey. And like you say, at the most stressful time in your life during COVID, that you then start another business. But like you say, you're all about empowering educators and women. And I know, because I know you and we're friends, I know that you have had a very solid practice in your life around your own personal development. And like you say, yes, we can be knowledgeable in our business, but underpinning that is how confident and dealing with our own self-doubt and being able to push forward to what do we say? Empowered women empower other women. So if you think about your own journey of personal development to get to a point where you were courageous enough to start not one business but two,
What's your journey been of growing yourself to then be able to support other women? What's your story around that?
My story with personal development really started when I was in high school still. My auntie was a double diamond in Network 21 or what was Amway, and is an international speaker through that. So I do recall having quite a lot of admiration for Auntie Yvonne, and really respecting that and feeling like I was very much called for something greater than just a 9 to 5. So I actually remember standing in front of my year 11 or 12 class and saying, I'm going to be retired by the time I'm 21, which didn't quite happen because I'm 45 now and I'm definitely not retired. But always feeling like there was something greater out there for me than just run of the mill. And my personal development journey continued when I was 18. I went to an NLP course that ran over 3 days. And that was quite enlightening for me and started giving me a sense of the power of your mind and having this real understanding of the psychological side of things. I think if I was to go in a different path in a different lifetime, I would probably look at doing psychology and things like that because I am really interested in how the mind works. So continuing on that pathway, like I had children quite young, and really I think that was a good thing for me because a lot of that hard work of child rearing was done, and then I came out really on the other side of that ready to explore and spread my wings. I had a lot more life experience and skills behind me and more of an understanding as to who I was. So everyone had always said to me that I should be a teacher. And I always thought that I was too stupid to go to uni. And so therefore I never did further education. But that was always there, that leadership and that ability to share in a practical sense. And people realized that and recognized it. And so I quite often got that feedback. So when my littlest had started prep, a friend of mine was teaching Cert 3 in early childhood education. She was like, "Oh, just come and do this. It'll just get you busy and keep you going and doing things. And, and if you don't like it, you don't, you'll do something else." On day one, I was like, I'm totally hooked. I absolutely love this. And then my life just went from there. I worked in long daycare, after school care, and then finally landing into family daycare. So that professional development, that love of learning has just continued in so many different aspects of my life. I've been a drummer. I used to drum in an African band, and all sorts of things. Just, anything that's interesting to me, I'm like, ooh, something bright and shiny. Teach me. So, yeah, I definitely have a thirst for learning, and I love knowing new things and meeting people who know more than me. And can share their knowledge. I really get off on it. So
you lead a lot of women in the work that you do. And, from where I stand, I see you as very much, yes, the leader, but also like a coach. So even though you expressed that you had a desire to be a teacher, but didn't think you were smart enough, you definitely are imparting knowledge and guiding women in your role right now and in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Is there ever a time that self-doubt or self-confidence comes up for you?
It used to a lot more than what it does now, like a whole lot more. And if I look on it, I really feel like if I'd actually gone to uni and been put in a box, I think I would have lost probably a lot of that love for teaching and coaching that I have now, because there's no one telling me how to do it. I'm really trying to forge my own way and find the things that fit for me. So I do. I've totally forgot what your question was.
So self-confidence and
the self-confidence, yeah.
Almost like even how do you manage that?
I don't have a problem with it anymore. So I've done a lot of work on feeling comfortable at the tables that I sit at. And so this is where, when I go into those spaces where I could potentially feel out of my comfort zone, I'm literally there to learn. I don't come up against people in my everyday world. I guess it's my attitude and my really deep desire to work collaboratively with people, not in competition with people. I feel personally when you're feeling like there's competition, that's when you start to question yourself. But I truly feel like I'm doing my own thing, like I'm singing out of my own songbook. And because I'm doing that, I don't need to feel like I have a confidence issue because I don't have to prove anything to anybody. I'm just sharing what I know. And that, I suppose, confidence comes from my recent introduction to human design. And in that, I'm a projector. And so projectors, that's the part of my personality. So projectors come knowing. They just have this knowing. And projectors are often misunderstood and feel like their ideas aren't seen and aren't valued. Where I've positioned myself without even realizing it is that I've put myself where my ideas like are 100% on the table. You can question them as much as you like, but I'm so comfortable and confident in what I'm teaching and what I do that like it doesn't matter that you have another opinion. That's great. How can we build on those? That is 100% how I come towards everything that I do in all areas of my life. So I'm just reached that point in my life where I'm not in competition with anybody. And when there's no competition, there's no issues with my confidence.
I love that, Victoria. You said a couple of things there that are absolutely true. You already know that you have a seat at the table. And when you metaphorically come to sit at that table, it's with the attitude and the energy, I'm here to learn. I'm here to collaborate. I'm here to share. How can we add to each other? And I believe that is potentially where people can get tripped up with the confidence thing because they come to the table thinking they have to have all the answers and they have to know. And sometimes driven by that maybe perfectionist or I just should be smarter, driven from perhaps that old underlining story, which I'm not smart enough because maybe I didn't have the university degree or the X, Y, or Z. And that's potentially where is our little bit of undoing is having an expectation on ourselves that is not needed, which then projects out as confidence and we feel questioned, but coming to the table and saying, how can I collaborate? What can I learn? How can we connect? That is brilliant. That is a beautiful evolution.
Yeah. Well, I've been at this for 10 years now. It's the long game. I could have easily quit if I'd have quit when things got really difficult a number of times, like to the point where I'm in tears on the phone to the Department of Education because their system changes just didn't work in my business. Like issues on their back end were having a major impact on our entire business. To the point where I was like, I can't do this. Like, you need to listen to me and fix this because I'm literally powerless in this situation. And getting vulnerable and being vulnerable leads to so much help. And this is where you connect to your spirits, your guides, whoever it is that you subscribe to, but really asking for that help and knowing that I just know that I'm supported in everything that I do and I don't try and rush things anymore. I used to be a bull at a gate, bull at a gate and so impatient but I know that business is a long game. I know that this evolution, I don't need to rush it. There's a song I'm listening to at the moment and it's Sometimes if you want to get there fast, you've got to go slow. Sometimes if you want to get to the end, you've actually got to let go. And I don't know if that resonates with anybody else. It's a song called Count to 10 by Tammy. I can't remember her last name now. I'll find it before the end of the podcast, but it's a beautiful song. And it's from a woman's perspective, talking about being burnt to the ground and having to stand back up again, having to, all these walls. And I believe she's talking about the walls that we build around ourselves. They talk really bloody loud, and it's all that self-doubt stuff that comes in at certain times and at different perspectives of your life. And it gets really loud and noisy in there. And that's where you've kind of just got to go, hang on a second, let's just, start again and pick myself up and walk in the direction that I want to go in, not the direction I think I should be. And really just connecting into your heart and following that process. So, yeah, I just, if you want to get there fast, you got to go slow.
Yeah.
It's a long game.
Yeah, and let go.
Yeah.
And again, looking at things with a different lens. You don't have to have all the answers.
No, you'll never have all the answers.
You won't, no.
And you can get to one point and have the answers here, but then that creates 50 more. Like it's just this like business is never still. It's never still, and the learning, the personal journey that comes with it is just unreal. Like it's so exciting. And when you meet people, like when you and I met, it was just like, I actually told you that we couldn't talk all the way in the car down to Sydney, and I didn't shut up the whole way down. But it was exactly that whole process of when you find someone that understands you, that's where you get to share, and your sharing is not for any reason other than to get to the other side of that problem and look at things from a different perspective. And I think that's what you have the opportunity to do in business, is look at things from a different perspective. Yeah. So that song is Count to 10 by Tina Dickow, Dickow.
Beautiful. For our listeners, definitely look that one up.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. So recently, Victoria, you joined me on the Embody Me program, which is wonderful, dear friend. We had a beautiful 6 weeks together. And during that process, I know something that you wanted to work on was, we had a few little different themes through that, and self-talk is one of those themes. And we have our voice of judgment, we have our voice of wisdom. And voice of wisdom to me is your intuition, or that voice of wisdom. I feel like you spend a lot of your life listening to your voice of wisdom and listening to that part of you. Is there any area of your life that you feel your voice of judgment wants to have more of a say? Because I feel like, we have our days, don't we? We all have our days. So are you happy to share a little bit about your journey of voice of wisdom and voice of judgment, how that shows up in your life?
Sure. Voice of wisdom, I'm very connected to my voice of wisdom. It speaks really loudly to me, and it actually comes as a knowing. So some people will experience it as auditory, some will be visual, they'll see signs which will give them direction. Mine shows up as a knowing. I just have this inner knowing, which is what the projector in human design has. They have that real connection. They just come knowing things. So I was that annoying child that was just so, like, I just knew what I wanted to do, drove my mother insane. So my voice of wisdom, I've cultivated that significantly over, from my 20s up till now. And I don't have a problem with listening to it and trusting it intrinsically because it doesn't steer me wrong. The voice of judgment comes out is around my relationship when I'm in partnership with my partner, and then I question because it's two people coming together and having to compromise. And I question, am I overpowering or is he overpowering? And I can get a bit in my head around that sort of stuff rather than dropping into my heart center and trusting that voice of knowing. So that's probably one area. And the other area would be around body confidence. I'm a bigger girl, so I've just started at the Stretch Lab. So they're professional stretches and it is awesome. It is so good. But it's very apparent that I'm really, really strong. So because what they do is they'll get you into a position and they'll where you feel like, oh, okay, I'm feeling that stretch. And then they'll ask you to breathe. Then they ask you to push against them. And then they push you further into the stretch, right? So when they're asking me to push against them, I've used two guys. They're two fellows that have stretched me so far. One of them weighs over 110 kilos and the other guy is just your average Joe. He'd be lucky to be 70, 75 kilos. And I nearly flung him across the room when he asked me to push. And he was like, jeepers creepers, lady, holy shit. Like, how strong are you? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And he goes, mate, I'm not arm wrestling you, And so for me, like Andreas, the bigger guy, literally has to lay on me in some positions to get the stretch because I'm quite flexible as well. So that has made me really realize just how strong I am. And coming with that strength, I'm in a bigger body. Like my body is just beautiful in its own expression and it's unique in its own expression. And that hasn't been widely accepted. I am never going to be a size 10. I would be anorexic if I was to get to a size 10. Mm. I'm 163 centimeters tall. Like I'm short. I'm not lanky and I am squat, so I would never be that. And for me to try and emulate that is really like I would die. I would literally die. Mm. So for me, it's taking a lot of like conditioning and, my dad was always big on losing weight and because he's just a little man, and I'm just not built that way. It would be like looking at, I don't know, what's a cat, a felt cat as opposed to an oxen. And I'm not putting myself down when I say that because they're each, or a zebra to an oxen, put it that way, like I'm just built that way and there's nothing wrong with that, but there hasn't been anything right with that in media and all that sort of stuff forever. There is a bit of a body positive movement happening now, which is looking at bigger people and acknowledging I'm not unfit. If you would probably look at me and think I would be, but I am not. And I lift heavy weights. It's a bit egotistical, but I do love when I get on a machine after a dude has been on there and done his last set and he's like, oh, I'll take the weights off. I'm like, no. It's okay, mate. You can leave them there. So I'll start my set where he finished his heaviest set is my warm-up. And you can see them walking away going, fuck.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. 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 So, and then I continue to lift more. So that I get a buzz out of that. But there's a very deeply seated underlying negative. You should be shying away from that. Don't expose yourself to be as strong as you are. And so I do have to really be mindful of that. But the more I'm doing things with my body, like these stretch sessions, these guys at the stretch place are just like totally affirming like, geez, girl, you're so fucking strong, and it's nice to hear that. So that's helping me to be more accepting of it and to just be like, hey guys, like this is just me. I don't want to waste my life being unhappy and trying to hide away and fuck that. I'm over it.
And that is beautiful that you are being validated and someone is saying, yes, you're strong, and you are. And that's positive self-talk. That's great self-talk, because it is a practice. And I'm speaking from my own experience here. It's a practice to undo and challenge what we have been raised with and what the beauty standards or the diet culture has said to us. And even before we hit record, Victoria and I were sharing, and I was talking about how a program came out that was promising weight loss. And even with I know what I know, I still felt this old patterning and this lure to sign up for that. And I had to really stop myself and say, again, you were wanting to what's under that? I got into that, questioning myself or my where my self-talk was going, and saying, if I do that again, I'm expecting I hand over money, I give my power away, and then I again have an expectation that someone's going to change my life or change my relationship with my body. That's not anyone else's work but mine to change my relationship with my body. And this is a process. And exactly like you're saying, Victoria, if we can come in from different angles, and maybe it's through validating, yes, I have this body that is strong. I have this body that is built in a very different way to a minx cat. It just is. And then moving towards then its strengths and celebrating what it can do as opposed to what it's not. And I feel that's part of this personal development and self-confidence is really leaning towards what I don't want to say what our capability or our capacity is, because we can do amazing things, everyone can, but also celebrating just where you're at and what you already come with, without thinking, well, I'll be happy when, because I've so many times done that. When I'm skinny, I'm going to, or when this change, I'm going to, because the truth is, for me, it may actually, this might be it. Size 16 may be it for the rest of my life. And is that bad? It's not.
Nope. No way.
And making things wrong and right, good and bad.
It's insane.
It is insane.
It is insane, because what it does is it invalidates you, and we're all fighting around our own insecurities.
Yeah.
I see people saying things to other people in order to make themselves feel better. And it's like, what if you didn't hurt that person's feelings and you just turned with a little look of love to yourself and soothed yourself, rather than causing hurt out there and not taking ownership of what you're actually doing? And hurt people, and I get that. Like, I totally get it. I've been that person. I've come a long way from there. There was a time where I couldn't end a single relationship without a massive fight. Like, there would have to be this huge blow up at the end of every relationship, and it had to be, well, you've wronged me and I'm right, and blah. Like, oh gosh, what a waste of time and energy, like a massive waste of energy. And so now I don't look to do that, because whatever that was that I was trying to make myself be, I found peace with that from within anyway. And I no longer have to do that. I can let relationships just filter off and dissipate, and that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong. I'm not into making people wrong anymore. I used to be. I don't find joy in making people wrong any longer. I do find joy in holding my boundaries and putting a boundary up and being firm with that now. I'm starting to really become unapologetic around having a boundary. Like, the other day, my husband was cross at me because I just finished my summit, and all I wanted to do, and I'm recovering from adrenal fatigue, all I wanted to do was nothing on the weekend. And he had different ideas and different plans and different expectations, and got cranky because I was like, I just want to sit in the sun and drink coffee and read my book. Or I don't want to clean the pool. I don't want to do the lawns. But he had this idea that it's the perfect weather. I'm going to get this done. You're not working now, blah, blah, blah. And, we had a bit of a disagreement about it. And I went away and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? No. If you have expectations on me that you haven't consulted with me about, that you haven't collaborate or talked to me about these, you have no right to get angry when I don't meet those expectations. And holding that space for myself, the more empowered I am in being very clear around what my boundaries are, the more empowered and peaceful I feel. Because I don't have to then go and stew on that and question it. I know that, hang on a second, no, that wasn't my expectation. That was yours, and you didn't consult me about that.
Mm.
So, no, I'm actually not interested in doing that. If you want me to, please ask. Don't demand it. Just ask.
Yeah.
And that can be across every relationship. It can be your working life with your children. We all know children as teenagers become these sometimes monsters, and the world revolves around them. Your partner, that can be, happening with your partner, your family, your parents, your siblings, all those people where there's a lack of boundaries, where they make you question, was I in the right? Like, what? Did I do something? Like, what? But the minute you're feeling that, that's a signal for you to go, hang on a second, what are my boundaries here? What do I feel about this here? And for you to be curious and looking into the inquiry of that, and really getting clearer about, because this is what our journey of this human embodiment is to find out what your boundaries are, to experience deep love and pleasure and excitement, and to feel the depths of pain. Because when you get taken to your knees, that is the opportunity to stop the world and reassess, what is it here that's really not working, and to go about putting that into perspective and where it needs to be. And always it comes back to boundaries. So,
and being able to communicate, and like you said, a couple of things there, just being able to speak up, and I love that saying, clear is kind. If you can be clear and be inquisitive and express, because then it stops resentment. But being able to work on yourself and have that view that you do have a seat at the table, circling back to that, because when you have self-confidence and you know that you're quite peaceful and stable and grounded in yourself, you can actually say that without a big blow up or a big fight. You can actually communicate that. And a great example of two different views. You've worked all week. You've just run an incredible summit, which, congratulations, was a huge success. You get to the weekend, you want to sit in the sun and drink your coffee and read your book. Whereas, your partner is ready to do some jobs around the house, and it's being able to just go, had an expectation, didn't communicate. I'm now going to put a boundary in place and communicate to you that that is not on my agenda today. Which it takes, because how many relationships don't do that? And then someone actually does it through grit teeth. You got up, cleaned the pool, did the yard, whatever. And then there's that stonewalling and that silent, you can feel it. Resentment, and you can feel that energy in the air, whereas clear boundary, communicate, inquisitive, and we respect when someone does that to us too. When someone communicates a boundary, it is a wonderful thing, because then you go, okay, all right, I now know. I know that is, which is good. And coming back to also the work you've done in accepting who you are, even around the physical body and the story, that also plays into this, because when you've got that level of, you're worth it, you can then speak up. you can actually speak, which is a beautiful thing.
100%. I mean, boundary setting, which feels strange because I manage, 40, 50 people in my business. So I have really clearly defined boundaries in my business. But in my personal life with my own family, I have not had fantastic boundaries. And it was so funny because when, like back in December, when you asked me if I could drive with you, if you could drive with me down to Sydney to this conference, and I was like, oh, I didn't even remember like who you were. I didn't even connect that I was doing your 21 minutes of morning magic. Like, I just didn't put it together because I was right in the throes of adrenal fatigue. And when I said to you, oh, yeah, that's okay. And in my head, I was like, oh my God, 8 hours of small talk in a car. No, thank you. I can't cope with that. Like, what if this chick is annoying? And you weren't, because I totally love you. Like, but I said to you, like, we're not going to be able to I can't talk the whole way. Like, I had to advocate for myself because I would have died otherwise. Like, it was just like my people pleasing. Oh, yeah, you can come with me. No worries at all. Far out. And I was like, we're just going to have to listen to audiobooks and podcasts and music and a little bit of talking. And as I've said previously, I didn't shut the fuck up the whole way down there or the whole way back. Let's be honest. It was just go from the minute we got in the car. But that's the power of you. You allow people to open up and you hold that beautiful space. But I said, and you said, oh, that's fine, darling. What a beautiful boundary you've just set. And then that set me into a tailspin of like, oh my God, oh, was I such a rude bitch? Oh my God, how could I have said that to somebody? Oh no, that was really awful. And I actually talked to you again afterwards and I was like, I'm really sorry that I said that. And you were like, no, darling, it was just a beautiful boundary. And I was like, like freaking out internally. And I had to sit with that. And it made me really uncomfortable because setting boundaries was not a safe thing for me to do as a child or in my teenage years. Every time I tried to set boundaries, there were bullies in my life that would pounce on me for that and tell me that I was wrong for doing that. So all of this conditioning comes up. And I think, you go through your first 20 years of life not knowing shit, but thinking you know shit. Then you get to your next 20 years of life going, oh, and you're trying to undo all the things that you've been conditioned to in the first 20 years. And then hopefully in the next 20 years, you go through life going, yeah, that doesn't work for me. I'm not going to do that. Or, yeah, that's great. I'm happy to do that. And if you do the work, that's kind of all the people that I look up to that I feel like are really balanced, peaceful people have had that same experience. 20 years of thinking you know it, 20 years of being sat on your ass and realizing you don't and learning all the painful lessons. And then the next bit is where you get to really enjoy life. So, I just feel like it's important for us to be able to set a boundary and be okay with that, because what other people experience on the other side of that boundary is none of your business to start off with. You have to advocate for you. You have to advocate for what is going to be the best thing for you in that moment. And it doesn't matter if that impacts anybody else, as long as you're not hurting, people and causing damage. But their response to your boundary is none of your business. Your response to what's happening to you is a reflection of your inner world. And I really feel like that's really solidified for me over the last couple of months. So, yeah.
And when you're fortunate enough, like you and I, to hang out around with people who have done, and there's lots of us, I mean, people who listen to this podcast have done lots of personal development themselves. So when someone communicates a boundary to you, it's actually incredibly helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you know, like the example you gave of us and you set that boundary, I went, oh, that's a great boundary. Like to me, it was that clear is kind for me. Great.
Yeah.
I now know we get in the car, we don't talk, we listen to a book, and that's totally, that is a very reasonable boundary.
Yeah.
And so I feel like those of us who are potentially we're preaching to the converted here, when we are in company of other people who have taken that time, who've got the attitude of collaboration, there is more than enough to go around. I'm more than happy to communicate. Let's connect in a really heart-centered way. Let's not talk about the weather, or let's not talk about other people. Let's not talk about even politics. Let's talk about the real stuff. We actually love when someone lets you know what they need. It is so helpful when someone tells you what they need, because then you can do that, because we're not mind readers.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing we can do. And it's funny how you were able to set that in your business first before your family, which is interesting, isn't it? Because our family, we're so used to just saying yes and stretching ourselves, but there comes a time where this is just helpful for everyone. This is healthy for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, in my business, there's financial pain if I don't have boundaries, and I'm keen to not feel that. But I think also there's a different hat. You wear a different hat. Yeah. You know, in my own home, I can see that I go into my own patterns and I'm living in what I've created unconsciously, whereas business is a conscious creation.
Yes.
Right? So that's, and I've only just literally come to that right this second. That's the difference, is that the business is a conscious creation.
Yeah.
You know, and there were, because I work in early childhood education, there's already a framework there. So what I could do was consciously create a business within a framework. And I like systems. I like frameworks. I love seeing the systems. Just don't ask me to follow the fucking system. And I don't swear in front of the children that I work with either, by the way, just in case I do have a teacher hat that I put on, which is not on right now. Yeah, I love a system. I love putting systems in place. I love part of being a projector, and my environment is mountains, and I enjoy the mountains because it gives me this overall view. I can see a far distance. So in that projector mode, I can see when systems are not working. I can see where there's holes in systems, and I know what needs to be put in place to fix it, to make it run smoothly and to keep it going. So when I'm consciously creating a business within a framework that's already there, I know the boundaries on which I can work and the things that can be done, and where I can scoot around that or push that or walk right over the top of it, because I've got all this stuff behind me to back it up, right? Whereas in your own life, none of that exists. You've just got to work this shit out yourself. Yeah. And there's all this unconscious conditioning that comes up. So I have we got time for another story?
Yes.
One
more story and then
one more story. Okay.
One more story.
So my dad's just sold our family home, and my brother had lived in that home for a few years while he was renovating his house. He'd moved over from WA, had all his stuff there, moved everything that he wanted to move into his new house, and left everything else that he didn't want in his new house at my dad's place. So dad's like, that's cool, whatever, it's fine, doesn't matter to him because he spends most of the time overseas anyway, so whatever. But he had been asking him, can you get your stuff out? Can you get your, since 2019. The stuff has not gotten out. Dad's just sold the house. The house is on the market for 4 days, sold the house. The first person that walked in bought it. He had no idea. He didn't think it was going to take, he thought it was going to take months. He was like, oh, I might even be overseas when this happens, you know, like, no, 4 days. So he had, he's going to be out by the 4th of July. So he's had like a month It was like a 30-day contract or whatever it was. So, pressure's on. So for some reason, my brother has just procrastinated about moving all his shit. He's got a full professional gym set up in the garage, an old car down the garage, 2 rooms in the house full of his shit, and my dad has been struggling with this, and my brother has been struggling with it. It came to a head at the garage sale that they had. They had a fight at the garage sale, and then my dad's calling me to come and help, and I'm like, I don't know what I can do. So I just went over there to hold space, but what I did was just see how my dad deals with stuff. And it was like laying my childhood out in front of me and all this conditional stuff.
Wow.
Like I could see the way he withdrew his emotions and then put punishment in place. And I was just like, holy moly. This is like, wow. As a grown woman now who's had some evolution in how she deals with stuff, to see that play out where I wasn't actually involved and in fact was being the golden child, which I quite often wasn't as a child. I was the one that was so annoying and pushing everyone's buttons and so, strong in what I knew I wanted, was always the one that was causing the tension, right? But what it was giving an opportunity for people to look at how they come up against someone who knows what they want. So I didn't always healthily set my boundaries, but I did set boundaries, not in a healthy way though. It was just really interesting to see all of that unfold and see how they deal with it and go, oh man, like I can see how far I've come, but I can also see where, like, the root of these patterns of behavior that I have, which I feel like is a gift.
Yes.
That I can now go, oh, and it just loosens things a lot. And so I feel like there is a big process that will start to happen for me as I have compassion, for my dad, who did the best he could with what he had, compassion for my brother, who also did the best he could for what he has, but compassion for myself too, to go, well, that's what you were taught. Yeah. And you were a really good student in that, but now it doesn't serve you anymore, and you can let go of that and you can put things in place that do serve you with kindness and compassion and love, but also don't fuck with me. Don't.
And you know what I'm hearing you say? Now I know better. I know better. It's that Maya Angelou said it so beautiful. When I know better, I do better.
Yep.
So you being able to witness that showed you a strong boundary you now have. Like you said, don't fuck with me. Mm-hmm. And it's also seeing that play out and going, look how far I've come and look how much I've grown. And I can see that clearly with compassion. That's the thing, is being able to witness our family play out patterns and be unattached.
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. I was totally just watching them two, just going, wow, how fascinating is this? And I'm not attached to it. I'd be lying, because when Dad said that, and I'll just make sure that I give Chris's portion of the inheritance to a charity. And I was like, I'm a charity. I'm a great charity.
But even, all of that patterning playing out and that unattachment, it is interesting. Families teach us so much, but I think that's the biggest thing that we can do is raise our self-awareness.
Yep.
So we are able to come in from a helicopter view, practice the compassion and the boundaries and the self-care and self-love to feel freedom and peace in that moment, even when the wheels are somewhat falling off or there's a lot of friction.
Yeah.
That is where we want to aim to be. It's not always the case because, next week we could be chatting, you're going, oh my God, I totally got, the wheels come off, Dad and Christy and I lost my peanuts.
Yeah.
Or, because it's an evolution.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can get totally hooked.
Yeah.
Completely hooked.
But it's wonderful when you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can feel into that.
Yeah. And then I get to laugh at my brother.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't lie.
No, you felt
a little bit, but no, that sibling stuff, like, yeah. But it was honestly, it's been like, and I mean, my dad's 80, so he's struggling with some of life with technology and all that sort of stuff, so it's been like, normally that would just grate on me. But I feel like I'm coming a lot past that adrenal fatigue now. And like last year when it was full on, that would grate on me and I'd like ignore his calls and blah, blah, blah. Whereas now I'm just like, hey, Pops, what's happening? And he'll do his little blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So what do you think you could do about that? Just, it's not my shit, but sometimes it's nice to be able to just ask those questions to help someone get to the answers themselves because I would invest in these are the ideas I have. This is what I know you should do. Whereas now I know as a projector, I have to wait for the invitation. Him calling me is an invitation, but you don't have to accept every invitation you're given either. And so it's a discernment. And that's what I really feel like I've really gotten a lot. So thanks, Dad, for that lesson of discernment in not taking every invitation that's put in front of you because you don't have to. So, yeah.
Boundaries.
Yeah. See, look at me go.
Look at you. Now, Victoria, my darling, as always, it's an absolute pleasure and honor to chat with you, my love. Thank you for your beautiful stories and your own journey thus far. You're doing awesome. And I love watching your business journey, and all that you do for women is wonderful. Like you said, that's your work. You empower women. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me. And thank you. The Embody Me program was just came at the perfect time. And I really got so much out of it. I mean, I've still got my little, I bend time and create magic. What is that? Affirmation. And I really did do that day I wrote that. Yeah. And so that Embody Me program really helped me to disassemble a lot of the things that I'd put around myself in such a way that I could actually soften and I could actually allow things to bubble up and come up. And luckily I was on the road for 4 weeks of that course, so I was on my own. So I had time to percolate these ideas and think about things and put things into order and into place. And it was just such a fabulous program. And I think if anybody is really considering doing it or feeling a bit lost, get yourself onto the wait list for it, because Emma guides you in such a profoundly gentle way that it is that you're inviting people, that invitation is there to look further at themselves in a loving capacity that's not sappy lovey or anything like that. It's a very much empowered space. And the women that you journey with too, like, they're just so insightful and really gracious and generous with their time and their feedback and their ideas. So yeah, if you are considering it, I think you will get a really great deal of value out of the Embody Me program. It was came at a great time, and a lot of evolution for me has happened since doing it. So thank you, gorgeous Emma.
Thank you, beautiful friend. Thank you for your beautiful words, and thanks for being here, my love.
Thank you.
Have you checked out my latest creation? Yes, I am a published author. I've written a book. 365 Days of Morning Magic, Manifest a Life You Love with Clarity, Calm and Joy. This little book is a daily guide that helps you set your intentions. I also invite you to join my free group, 21 Minutes of Morning Magic on Facebook, where I gather regularly with you all and we go through a beautiful little process of yoga, some flowetry, setting an intention for the day. So if you'd love to be part of that, click the link below and I hope you enjoy this beautiful little book.